All right, draft recap, Atlanta Falcons edition. Going to make one for every single team, making one for the Falcons here, who had an odd draft, and some picks I really like in here, some picks I'm not a huge fan of, and a lot of picks I'm kind of just whelmed by, not underwhelmed or underwhelmed, feel like they got fair value for those selections. So the first one is a pick that if you know me, you know I'm going to hate this selection of getting Bijan Robinson at pick number 8. Listen. He's everyone's running back one on the board. They got a very good player. There's no denying that. But again, I'll bring up something I brought up in the Lions video as well of what Mike Renner, of PFF, although I believe he just left PFF, but he said about the Lions, they went to a steakhouse and ordered a cheeseburger. Feels kind of similar when you're getting a running back at pick number 8 of you have so many options at premium positions. There's a real chance that Bijan Robinson ends up being a star running back, but there's just only so much value. Now, there is still value in that, and I still think they got a good player, but I think one of the issues as well is I think the Falcons are still a bit a ways from really competing. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I feel like their defense still has some holes on it, although I do like some pieces on offense. They still don't have the quarterback under control. To me, this is the move you make when you're ready to compete now, not when you're ready to compete later. So, again, is he a good player? Absolutely. Is it a draft selection I would have made? No. But at the same time, hey, he'll sell tickets, buy his jersey, and it'll be fun, certainly. But again, running backs just don't have the value that some people perceive them to, which is why I am personally not a huge fan of this selection. But again, it's a fun pick, so we'll see how it works out. Because again, I know it's been a long time on just one pick, but it's the most important pick of this draft class, really. And I put them as one of my day one losers in my draft. Mock draft thing, and part of why, not mock draft, but in my day one recap, I made a 7 losers, and they were one of them. And one of the reasons why is someone disagreed and said, well, he's going to prove you wrong. Just midway through next year, you're going to feel stupid about putting him as a loser. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be really good. I don't think he's going to prove me wrong because I think he's going to be good. That's not the argument. The argument isn't about the player. It's about the positional values. So just want to make sure I'm clear on that. But let's move on because there's plenty of picks to talk about. And we all know that the draft, all we talk about is the first round, but there's, oftentimes it's how you draft in future picks that actually matters more. And for the Falcons, they got Matthew Bergeron, who is, again, this is a bit of a reach. The chart next to me, what you see on the screen, what it is it's the player name, their position, where they were drafted. So he was drafted 38th, and then where they are on the consensus big board. So for him, that's 62. So this was a bit of a reach. According to the consensus big board, it was a bit of a reach. One thing that's nice about offensive linemen is that you can look at analytics, and they tend to do a pretty good job of telling you if it's, doing a pretty good job of predicting if they're going to have success at the next level. His run blocking analytics, not great, but his pass blocking analytics are pretty good. He was a tackle, but was drafted as a guard, so I'm assuming they're going to have him play guard. And actually, I think could be a pretty good pass blocker there. So this is another one where you could argue maybe you could have gotten him a little bit later, traded down, and still gotten your guy. Again, that's a little bit tough because someone has to agree to, for a trade down. You have to, make that work, certainly. And we just don't know how the NFL actually views this stuff. So is it a reach? Sure. Does evidence show that when you reach, it usually isn't a good idea? Also, sure. Can I see why someone might like Bergeron more than the consensus does? Absolutely. I think I like Bergeron more than a late second round pick as well. So I totally get it. And I'm going to defend that pick a little bit more than maybe some other people would. Next up, Zach Harrison, which this is another one of those, you know what? You got a player who you should have gotten here. This isn't a great steal. This isn't, a reach or anything like that. You got someone who is, with the 75th pick, you got someone who is 80th on the consensus big board. Okay, that's the goal here. Maybe not necessarily to get the player who's, 5 spots lower, but just in general, get someone who's around where you're at. And I think that's what he did. So, again, another position where you can look at analytics if you want to. good analytics, especially when he's in a true pass rush grade. His grade was 91.1. That's very good and very promising. So again, another guy who maybe the consensus has him as a third round talent. He went in the third round, but maybe he could actually do some things and be at least a day one contributor. So right off the bat, I do think that they got 3 contributors with their first 3 picks. And then we have someone who, this is a massive steal from the consensus big board rankings. I mean, if we talk about Bergeron being kind of a bit of a reach, well, this is a significantly more in the other way of a steal with Clark Phillips III, who ends up falling in this draft class, was, 57th on the consensus big board, but he ends up getting selected at 113. I'm not sure exactly what people didn't love about him to have him fall, but he had pretty good analytics and things of that nature. Not the fastest corner though, and speed does matter a ton at the cornerback position. So for stuff like that, I think that's why he fell, and I think that that's probably why they end up picking him up. But at the same time, there are slow corners in this league that are still effective. He ran a 4.51. It's not like he ran like a 4.7. For corners, yeah, you want that to be under 4.5, but it almost is. And who knows? Maybe he is faster in pads than not in pads or something like that. Also a little smaller, 5'9", 184. So I think a little bit slower and a little bit smaller, but played pretty well last season. Only has the 1 year of production as well. That's another knock on him. But at the same time, it's corners. They're so fluky. But to me, I care less about how consistently do you do it, and I care more about have you done it? Can you show me that you have done it? And he has at least done it, so you feel pretty good about that. The Falcons also had multiple 7th round picks in this draft class, actually right next to each other. Picks 224 and 225, where they selected a safety, DeMarco Helms, and then a guard, Jonathan Gwynn. 2 players who, listen, a lot of times in the 7th round, some guys you're getting are just special teamers. Like I think, a safety in the 7th round, is that actually going to be someone you expect to start right away? Or is he just a special teamer? That definitely makes you wonder it. And, again, Gwynn, going to be more offensive line depth, a position you have to make sure you have depth in. So nothing crazy there. But again, very rarely does a 7th rounder turn up to be more than just, you hope, at best they can just be a contributor. And we'll see if either of those 2 guys are. So as a whole, it's not a draft I hate. I think some people are going to absolutely crush this draft and say, "Oh, what a terrible draft! You reached on Bergeron. You drafted a running back, pick number 8. What a disaster!" And listen, I'm not saying I love every single selection, but I think that they did some things nicely. So again, I don't do draft grades because that's just not what I do. I like to talk about each picks and kind of talk about more of a philosophy. I see what they're trying to do. I guess I'll finish with that. I see what they're trying to do. I see why they went out and got Bijan Robinson. They want to see if they can beat the Tennessee Titans of a few years back. And listen, if you're gonna beat that team, you need a great running back. So, it's not the team building philosophy I think is the right one. It's their team building philosophy, and they're doing things to make it work. And we'll see if it does. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.